Hey, it's David with the Leadership Revolution. Thank you so much for joining us on the series Teaching to Change Lives. I'm so excited about my next guest. After a near-death experience in her 20s, she understands the true gift of life and the value of what really matters. She is first and foremost a mother to two teenage children, an author, and a life and happiness coach. She's also a lifelong seeker of love, light, and truth. She's born in the UK to an Italian mother and a Chinese father, and moved to Italy in 2001 to live her dream and start a family. That is so amazing. And she has been there ever since. She now spends her life teaching valuable lessons to lovingly guide others to igniting their inner lights, bringing out more love, peace, and joy to their lives. She says, "It's my divine calling to help people see the truth and beauty of who they are, to help them develop self-worth and self-trust, giving them the confidence to create their very own happily ever after." It's like a Disney story. She's an author of 3 top-selling books. My Growing Heart, one of the dopest books I've read. Your Life, Your Legacy, and My Life, My Legacy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my next guest, Nadia Wong. Nadia, welcome.
Hello. So happy to be here, and I'm so grateful to be invited and to spend this time with you today. I was going to say, because we're the afternoon here, you're the morning, but yeah.
Yeah, either or, right?
Spend this time with you today, yeah.
That's
really
so
excited.
That's so awesome, and thank you for your willingness to jump on again. I know when I saw your application come through, I was like, okay, this is a person that I want to get to know. And then when we had our discovery call, I was like, all right, I don't know if I told you this, but after that call, like I was really in like a down place, a dark place, not a dark place, but I was not as high on the frequency chart. And after talking to you, like my energy levels just went up. So you were a catalyst on my Friday morning. And I was like, this lady doesn't know, like you made my day better. So thank you for that. And I am just,
So happy.
Thank you. And I'm just so curious to learn a little bit more about you, to dive into that near-death experience that you talk about in your bio, and even, and then I want to jump into the book. So what was that near-death experience that you encountered in your life?
Okay, well, I suffered with chronic asthma in my late teens and 20s. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really understand the gravity of it. I just thought, it's asthma. It's something that you have. People have it or they don't have it. And I had asthma. But I just lived with it and didn't really take care of myself because, in your sort of late teens and 20s, you don't really, think about your health or your well-being.
Really?
So well, I didn't anyway. You don't kind of think about the future, do you? You just sort of go through. Well, I just assumed that asthma was something I had to live with, and I didn't take the medication. But then what happened is I was working as a hairstylist, and with the chemicals, I used to smoke, which is crazy because I already did have breathing problems from when I was a little girl.
Wow.
But then I was diagnosed with asthma, and then had chronic asthma. Ended up having a few close moments, but there was one really close one, and where I just felt my life just slipping away. I was at home, my inhalers, because in order to breathe, you need to take inhalers, but my tubes just completely closed, couldn't take any medication, nothing was going in and out. And all of a sudden, I thought, I'm going to go. It's my time. But instead of the panic, because with the panic trying to get my breath back, instead of the panic came calm. And everything just became calm and beautiful. And I suddenly wasn't scared. It was just like, I just knew that everything would be okay. And so from that moment on, by some miracle, I started to breathe again. And from that moment on, I realized I've been given a second chance. It's difficult to explain, to describe the feeling, but I just knew there was nothing to fear about death. And I also knew that this was my time to live. It was my time to do something with my life because I was getting a second chance and I wasn't going to waste it.
Wow.
And so that was kind of like my journey to then discovering life. And that's when my journey about life began, really. understanding what happened. And from then on, I changed my diet. I started to take, did courses on breathing properly, learned all about asthma, all about diet, and it's just a journey. I went through the body first, then the spirit, and then the mind. So I've realised now, I'm now 52 years old, that it's been complete. It's getting the mind, body, and spirit working together in harmony to have that peace, to have that complete well-being.
That's so powerful. Like it's interesting, right? Because oftentimes when you're a life and happiness coach, right? And oftentimes when people are speaking, they're often speaking from a place that, okay, I've gone to school for X amount of years, to become a psychologist, but haven't done the necessary work to, for themselves. But you're talking about actually going, having your near-death experience, that being a catalyst that helped you understand, okay, now I need to do more work on the body, the mind, and the spirit. And what pulls you, right? Like, what keeps you going to want to pursue this lifelong discovery about yourself? When you mentioned you're 52, it's easier to just hit that plateau. Like, what keeps you going to this, like, on this journey? I'm curious about that.
Well, I've always been a sort of a go-getter and had loads of energy, and just since that experience, it was definitely, I think of it as a blessing. And it was meant to be for me. That was my blessing. And so I did, and I've always kind of used that experience to chase my dreams. I went off to live in Italy. I had my own business by the time I was 21. I decided to leave a very successful business just to let it all, just to leave it all, because I decided I wanted to move to Italy and have a family, so I didn't have to work. I could be a full-time mum. So I've always had that drive. But what happened was when my kids were a bit bigger, being a full-time mum, I had grown my own organic vegetables in my garden. I had a great life, really happy. Is that I hadn't thought about my life beyond motherhood. And so I actually hit a wall. I've hit a wall a couple of times when I lost my mum, and then again when my kids were getting a bit bigger, and I hit a wall again. I thought, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And so I slipped into depression, which was a really strange feeling for me, because I'd never known depression. Because I'd always been a go-getter and pushed myself. I've just had this energy for life. Yeah. So when that happened to me, it was a real shock to the system. I thought, how did I get here? So, but then from that moment on, it was like I had this experience. It was about a year of depression. I was just crying constantly. And there was one moment I felt myself, I could actually see myself I was sitting having my dinner with my children. One of my kids said something like, I just want to die, because they were just saying something like that. But I just realised that I am being that influence on their lives. They can see me, and I wasn't being the person that I wanted them to have in their lives. And all of a sudden I could see myself. It was like I was kind of took myself out, and I could see myself crying into my food and thought, Nadia, no, it's time. There's no way you're going to do this. You are doing this to your children. And this is not how I want them to live. And so that's just who I am. When I get hit a wall, I climb over it. And then I just drive forward. And now I go forward knowing that I write not just for everybody in the world to know what I've learned and the lessons I've learned, to keep this energy up, to be well and fit, but to also for my children, because I know after losing my parents, that I could do with my parents now. I still have questions for them, and they're not here for me to answer them. So I write, so one day they will want me. And I know that if I go tomorrow or in 50 years' time, I've left a piece of me for my children, so they can be guided through life, and for everybody else as well. And so that for me is what drives me. It's that using what I've learned, using my experiences to teach, to help people through their difficulties. And I'm really open and honest, because I believe if we were all more open and honest about how we're really feeling, we would realise we're more alike than we are different, and that we all can get where we want to be. It's not, we look at other people and we think, or, you know, famous people or successful people and think, I want their lives, but we have no idea what they're going through on the inside. But we also have got no idea how they got, what they did to get to where they are. So we've got to be open and we've got to share these stories, and I'm passionate about that.
Yeah, I could definitely feel that passion. And you said a couple of things that really stood out to me. You said that you saw that catalyst moment in your life as a blessing. And then, you know, there was this wall that you just, you know, once you make your mind up, you get over that wall. And then you said, you know, crying into your food, you know, being depressed for a year, and then hearing your children or your child say, I just want to die. And then having that out of body experience to see yourself and say, hey, you're the one who is influencing these emotions around you, right? So part one, what you mentioned, it's a blessing. So what I hear is a different perspective, right? You could have easily saw it as a pain point and says, woe is me, why is this happening to me? What was your mindset that allowed you to say this is a blessing versus this is a curse?
I'm just not one for tolerating. I'm just one of these people. I don't know if it's my character, but I just thought I'm going to give it everything. Like when I got to that point, I thought, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die fighting. I'm going to give it everything. If it doesn't work, I know I've given it my best.
Yeah.
Because I believe in a higher power. I believe that we are all divine beings. That we have got obligation to do the best that we can in this life. And if we've given everything, our life, our all, and done everything that we possibly can, then we can, you know, rest. When it's our time to go, we can rest in peace. So it's just important that we, you know, move forward for ourselves, you know, for what we believe is the right thing to do, because we all have our own values. We know what's right for us, and we have to follow that inner guidance.
Yeah, and it brings me to the book, My Growing Heart, right? You talk about, you know, in the intro, you're just like, you know, up until the age of 20, you've read only 5 books. And if the people who are reading it probably feel, you know, the way that you felt is just like, no, this is not that type of book. And then you approach this book, My Growing Heart, in such a unique way, as not an expert in the room, but a guide from the side. And I know this series, Teaching to Change Lives, is all about how can we teach in a way that impacts and change the lives of those around us. So why did you take that stance of becoming a guide versus becoming the expert in the room in your book, My Growing Heart?
I want to have heart-to-hearts with people. And I feel that you can't do that. We need to come face-to-face, level to level. Like, see people from you know, a loving heart-to-heart perspective, as opposed from mind to heart or age to age. It's just, we're just hearts and souls connecting. And I wanted to go really deep. And working as a life coach or, you know, happiness coach, I thought I want to go deeper. And I think that with books, people have that one-to-one connection, because it's like, you know, when you get into a book and it's just the two of you, you know, and I just wanted to get in there, get inside the heart and just speak, just be myself. And that's what I do. Yeah. And there was no plan to it, really. There was no plan. It was just spill my heart out. In fact, I feel that the book could have been written better now that I read it back, and there's grammar and I just should have been edited better. But actually, it's okay, because it's just me just spilling my heart out and just having a conversation. And if we were having a conversation with somebody, we wouldn't be editing it. We wouldn't be thinking about how it's supposed to be, if it's supposed to be well-spoken or well-read. So I just thought that's what's, for me, is the beauty in it now that I've accepted that it wasn't edited well.
Wow. And so I hear 2 things. I hear transparency and I hear vulnerability, right? You know, you're just laying your heart out there, and your intent is to connect with the reader. And oftentimes we live in a world where we have this emotional wall, this social wall, this religional wall, right? And now, you know, with COVID, now our spiritual mask